had been those nights. A rough one. Although I'd survived it, in the morning the birds sounded like someone scratching nails over a blackboard, and the sun had the appearance of a molten tangerine. I needed a complete overhaul job, and the New York Athletic Club was the place to get it. However, a man must stay in business. I'd received a call from a prospective client, so I invited him to meet me and have a conference while I clung to life. At least, what life there was left.
All right, that's enough. It's good for what ails you, huh, Mr. Hilbert?
Fine. It was an excellent suggestion.
You know, you could do 15 rounds with a bull hippo. All right, okay, no more. Come on, Mr. Hilbert, you ready?
Anytime you say, Mr. Hammer.
Now, then what's all this about your wife, huh?
Well, it's rather personal, and I don't want to upset her.
What's the matter? Is she in trouble?
No, not with the law or anything like that.
No?
But I'm convinced she's being swindled.
Uh-oh, confidence game, huh?
Well, not really. It's a deadbeat group of actors.
I beg your pardon?
Well, my wife, Elsa, is financing them, putting on classical revivals in a little theater down in Greenwich Village. They never make any money.
I see. Well, then your wife's an angel, huh?
Well, angel is hardly a word you can apply to Elsa, but technically, I suppose you're right.
I see. Well, there's nothing wrong with your wife financing a little theater group, making up the deficit, if she can afford it.
Oh, she can afford it, all right, but I don't approve of it.
Well, then why don't you stop her?
When you meet Elsa, you'll discover she's a woman who, to speak bluntly, is most difficult to influence.
Well, this sounds more like a family affair, Mr. Hurlburt. Something to be settled between you two.
No, it's more than that. At first, I thought if Elsa wanted to restore her lost youth and be an actress, it was none of my business. But it is my business, Mr. Hammer, when my wife makes a fool of herself and is swindled out of thousands of dollars.
How many thousand?
Oh, possibly 25 or so.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
Well, it isn't the money so much, you understand. But someday, my wife will be deeply hurt, humiliated.
I see, and you want to prevent that from happening to her.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know what I can do. There's nothing against the law. But I'll tell you what, I'll look into it and see what's happening.
Well, I wish you would.
All right, you tell me, where's this theater group located?
Well, it's on Bleecker Street down in the village. Here, wait a minute, I'll give you the
All right.
address.
Hurlburt left the club before me while I made a couple of phone calls. Then I headed for the village. The birds back in tune again, and the sun shining bright. I was a new man on a new case. The theater was a typical off-Broadway operation. Artie plays, a little box office, and a patsy to pay the bills. In this instance, Elsa Hurlburt.
Pardon me, ma'am. Are you looking for someone?
Well, yeah. I'd like to see,
If it's about casting, I'm sorry, but we're all cast up through the next production.
yeah.
Perhaps
But
if you come back another time.
I'll wait.
All right, everybody. May I have your attention, please? Your attention, please. Iphigenia in Taurus by Euripides is a great Greek tragedy. Iphigenia herself is both a symbol and a character that...
I think I understand the part of Iphigenia, Professor, and remember that time is money.
Yes, you're quite right, Mrs. Herbert. Duncan as Orestes and his companion Pylades have just rested.
Well, I hate to interrupt again, Professor, but Duncan and I went all over his lines last night.
That must have been a help.
Did you say something, dear?
I said that must have been a help.
Well...
Yeah, it was.
Gentlemen, ladies, I think we're wasting time. Let's get started. Mrs. Herbert, would you mind starting with your first scene, please?
To think that here in Taurus, after these years, the sea would deliver to me two of my countrymen. That's the way it goes. Pylades isn't like that at all. He should be much more frightened.
Wait!
We're going to have a little bit of temper. I think it's just as well he should leave for good. See that the others understand that.
But Mrs. Herbert, wait. Let me try. I think I can help him.
He really doesn't want to be helped. I was only trying
We
to
have such a short rehearsal period, Mrs. Herbert. I'm afraid with such short notice we won't be able to find an actor who can take it.
Yes, anyone. Just anyone could do it. And do it better than he was doing. He could do it.
Me?
What's he doing here?
He's looking for a job.
Oh, there, you see? I told you there are thousands of actors. You are an actor.
Well, yeah, I've been called an actor. Good, bad, and indifferent.
Well, young man, if the professor agrees, you have a job.
Now, we mustn't rush into anything, Mrs.
Oh, I'm
Hubbard.
not rushing. I'm considering carefully.
You don't even know his qualifications. You've never even heard him read.
You forget my instincts about such things.
But you don't even know his name.
Oh, that's the easiest part of all. What's your name?
Mike Cole?
Yes?
Marteau?
That's French, isn't it?
It means hammer.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Well, I'm sure the professor agrees with me, don't you, Professor? So it's settled. There now, you read the part of Pylades.
Pylades.
Perhaps he should have an opportunity to read the script, Mrs. Herbert.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little time.
All right. Half hour, everybody. Break for half an hour.
I went along with the gag, or error, because as a member of the cast, I was running inside to the post as far as being able to find out the truth about the setup.
All right, let's start.
Ah, dear sister, these arms grown old and withered can offer no comfort, no solace.
To think that please don't take offense, dear, but didn't you think that last gesture was just a little bit awkward?
Better?
Let's start from your line again, Stacy, would you please?
Ah, dear sister, these arms grown old and withered.
Stacy, dear, I only mean to be helpful. But you're getting peevish. It's showing in your lines. But anyway, I feel that this whole thing doesn't sound right.
Well, what would you suggest, Elsa?
Well, perhaps somebody should say something here. A word or two.
You want to rewrite Euripides?
Perhaps someone should. Now, let's see, what could you say? Let me see.
Thalassa?
Thalassa?
It means the sea. It's a very old expression from Xenophon.
Oh, yes, of course. I'd forgotten for a moment. I think it's an excellent suggestion. The sea. We have a sea in our play, too. Well, let's get on with the play.
All right.
Ah, dear sister, these arms grown old and withered.
Thalassa.
I can't do it! It's a farce! This woman's old enough to be my grandmother. I'm supposed to be playing her older sister, that old bat.
What's wrong with you, Stacy? Can't you take a little direction?
Direction? She doesn't even know which way is up. How can she give me direction?
But why don't you try listening to her? Maybe you learn something, huh?
Oh, you fool. This time you've gone too far.
Quite enough, Miss Lee.
Mrs. Herbert, I'm sure it's just strain, a little temperament.
You know very well, Professor, we have no place for that here. She can't talk to me that way.
I'm sure she'll apologize.
It might be wise, Professor, to decide who it is you're supporting in this. Miss Lee, who's entirely in the wrong, or your own, shall we say, sponsor.
I see what you mean.
Yes, I thought you would. Now, when you can manage to restore a little order here, I'll be in my dressing room.
Just around the corner from the theater was a coffee joint. I'd heard it was the hangout for the cast, and I figured if they ran true to form after the blow-up, they'd all move over to take Elsa Hurlburt apart between cups. Hey, Professor. Be my guest, huh? There we go. Come on, sit down, huh? Hey, Red, 2 cups of coffee, huh?
What a job.
Listen, I'm sorry about this afternoon, Professor. I didn't mean to interfere and mess things up for you.
It wasn't your fault. Today was no different from any other.
Why'd you ever get mixed up with that Madame Hurlbird? Hey, she's hardly your type.
Unfortunately.
Thanks.
For 20 years, I had a decent and enjoyable job teaching at the university. But I always wanted to try to direct sometime.
I see. So you decided to put your theories into practice, huh?
I was a fool, and fools are easily tempted. Mrs. Hurlbert didn't even have to tempt me. She's so rich, she just bought and paid for me.
Why don't you give the whole thing up and go on back to university?
Don't you think I thought about that every day, 50 times a day? Well, I'll tell you why I don't. Because I can't.
You can't. Why not?
When I left, I lost my tenure.
Oh, I see.
Anyway, I'm not fit to go back. I used to love my job. Now?
Well, what now?
Now I just spend my time hating Mrs. Hurlbert's guts.
You do love me, don't you, Duncan?
Sure, baby, sure. You know it.
You're not going to let her get away with it, are you?
I'll fix her where it hurts the worst.
You'll forgive the intrusion. Undoubtedly, you have some explanation for this vulgar display of affection.
Well, as Stacy's leaving, I was just telling her goodbye.
Like that?
Yes. He always does it like that. Didn't you know?
Stacy.
Well, go on and tell her. We're going to be married.
That's the truth?
Yes, that's the truth. Go on, speak up.
I don't believe it.
You don't? Well, can you understand one thing, Mrs. Hurlbert? That with all your money, I've got something you don't have. I'm young, and I'm pretty. And those are 2 things you haven't been for nearly 25 years.
Look, outside.
Every time Duncan had to play up to you to run and fetch and carry, he was doing it for me, because he loves me. He can't stand the sight of you.
You mean that all those fights and arguments you had, they were just staged?
Yeah.
You tramps. Get out. I'm going to get an attorney, and I'll get back every penny I ever gave you, Dog Fortune.
Go ahead and try.
I'll not only get it back, I'll see you both behind bars for a confidence swindle.
Now, look, don't you make threats to me. It can work both ways, you know.
Mrs. Hurlbert, I could hear you all the way down the hall. What's wrong?
What's wrong? There's nothing wrong, Professor, except that your precious little theater is all washed up, through, finished.
Mrs. Hurlbert, Elsa, you can't do that.
No, of course I can't, Professor. But I can, and I will. Go back to teaching your sophomores.
But you promised. When I quit my job, everything I have is tied up in this theater. I can't go back now. You promised me. You assured me.
Did I, Professor? You know, my memory is very bad. I don't remember.
But what will I do?
My suggestion to you, Professor, if you want to remain in the theater, is to learn to use this.
Hello, Mr. Hilbert. This is my camera. I got some good news for you. I think your wife's coming home. Yeah, for good. Oh, she had a very rough day today. She got into a fight with Duncan and everybody else for that matter. Hmm? Yeah, a very much sadder but much wiser woman. Well, just drop me a check in the mail. No, I'll leave it up to you. Whatever you think it's worth. Okay. All right, fine. Goodbye, Mr. Hobart.
It's about time you got here. It's 10 o'clock.
The next day, I received a frantic telephone call that Elsa was dead. But the call didn't come from Claude Hurlburt. It came from Stacy Lee. She had heard me identify myself and needed help. Dunk Fortune was being held on suspicion of murder. I agreed to meet her at the Tombs. Dunk Fortune was either naive or a better actor than I gave him credit for. Seems like he had received a phone call in his apartment from Mrs. Hurlburt, who apparently had excused her womanly prerogative. She wanted Dunk to meet her at the theater and make up their differences. Dunk's story was that Mrs. Hurlburt was already dead when he arrived. The cops apparently were not far behind.
Yeah, I admit I've been taking dough from her. She's been offering, I've been taking.
Why?
Duncan and I wanted to get married. Maybe go out to Hollywood and take a crack at the movies. We needed to get a little capital ahead.
Yeah, that's right. Stace and I agreed I'd play up to Elsa, and between us we'd pretend to fight to keep Elsa from getting jealous.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
And I took what I could get.
25 grand, huh?
You're kidding. 2,500's more like it.
2,500? Are you sure of that?
I'm positive. And believe me, I earned every cent of it.
Yeah, I'll bet you did.
So last night I decided to meet her and try for more dough. When I got to the theater, she was dead. And then the cops came in.
Did you tell all this to the police?
They don't believe me. They think I'm just trying to alibi for Dunk.
Maybe you are. And then again, maybe you're not. I'll try and find out which one it is. I checked with the detectives on the case. A phone call had come in from a person unknown, passing the theater, who said he had heard a loud fight going on. When they arrived, they caught Dunk Fortune flat-footed. But I had another idea.
I got your message, Mr. Hammer. Evidently, you are a better detective than you are an actor.
That's a matter of opinion, Professor. All right, let's get down to it. I got a couple of questions to ask you.
I've already told the police everything that I know.
Good, then you can tell me them all over again. For example, how many people had keys to the theater?
Just Mrs. Hurlburt and I. Why?
Do you still have yours?
No, Mrs. Hurlburt wanted it back yesterday.
Did you give it to her?
I didn't have it with me. I told her I'd mail it to her. I did, yesterday afternoon.
Can you prove that?
No? Are you suspicious of me, Mr. Hammer?
Suspicious? Yeah, let's just say I'm suspicious of everybody. For example, your financial books, are they in good shape?
Yes.
Any shortages?
No.
Can you prove it?
They balance perfectly.
Can I see them?
I don't have those either. Mrs. Hurlburt took them with her when she left the theater.
Did anybody see you give them to her?
No.
Professor, were you stealing from Mrs. Hurlburt?
Certainly not. Mr. Hammer, I detested Elsa Hurlburt, but I wouldn't kill for money.
Maybe, maybe not. But you're the only other person who had a key to the theater. It's gone. Your books are missing, and so is a big chunk of dough. It's gone, too. Now, it all begins to add up, doesn't it, Professor, huh?
Preposterous. I won't even think of it.
You don't have to, buddy. I will. I already knew the theater door had not been forced, so whoever got in used a key. Besides the professor, there was one other very good possibility in the key department. I tried all day to reach Claude Hurlburt. He was a hard man to reach. But I finally caught up with him just as he was leaving the elevator.
Oh, Mr. Hurlburt. Oh, Mr. Hammer.
I want to see you for a minute, Mr. Hurlburt.
Can't we put it off? There's so many things, arrangements.
No, we can't put it off if you want to catch your wife's murderer, Mr. Hurlburt.
What? Why, I thought Duncan.
Yes, I know, but I've got other ideas on the subject.
Well, that's very interesting, but if you'd excuse me, I have an appointment.
I want 2 minutes of your time, Mr. Hurlburt, right now. Did you receive a key to the theater in the mail this morning?
Why, no. No. Should I?
I don't know. I'd also like to take a look at the financial books that Professor Murphy kept in the theater.
Well, ask Murphy for them.
No, he says your wife brought them home with her yesterday.
Oh, no, Mr. Hammer. He must be wrong. Elsa didn't bring them back. Do you think they're important?
Plenty important. I think they'll uncover a liar and a murderer. Do you know where they are?
No. Now, I really must go on now.
Are you sure you don't know where they are?
I don't know. Wait a minute. Let me think. Elsa had some kind of a private hiding place at the theater. She mentioned it once.
You think they might be there?
Well, it's entirely possible. Suppose, Mr. Hammer, you meet me at the theater tonight. I don't have time now, but we can look for them there.
All right, fine. What time?
Say about 9?
9 will be fine. I'll see you then. Dear Mr. Hammer, unfortunately, I've been called away for just a few minutes. Please be good enough to wait for me. Huh?
You can tear up my check. Won't be good tomorrow.
Yes, but your statement will be. How about getting Duncan Fortune off the hook while there's still time?
I can hardly talk.
Don't talk. Don't talk. Save your breath and just confirm my facts. I've checked on you. You don't have a cent. All the dough belonged to your wife.
Yes.
Elsa was not built to 25 grand. You just made up that figure to get me to stir up the mud. Then you'd step in and take advantage of the situation.
Yes.
After the fight between Elsa and Duncan yesterday, which I told you about, you talked Elsa into meeting with Duncan one more time. You told her that she could frame him, get him into trouble.
Told Elsa, give money. Duncan, I'd watch. Testify it was blackmail.
Blackmail. And Murphy's key was in the mail.
Yes.
Elsa had the only other key. You came down here with her and you killed her. Then you called the police. They arrived here right after Duncan Fortune, right?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. It was your one chance to inherit your wife's money and to be free of her forever, right?
Free. Now.